His MVP. Golf swing, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb into first. One swing. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down the line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field, way back there. Gone again. Corey Seager does it again. It's Texas Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Thursday today. Took the Christmas holiday off, of course. Hope you and yours had a very Merry Christmas. I know I did with my family and friends. Looking forward to getting into all things Texas Rangers baseball in the middle of the offseason here. Some good stuff on the show. Going to give you my reaction to the Joc Pederson signing. We're going to talk about some corresponding moves that were made when the Rangers added a few different relievers over the course of the past week. We'll talk about those relievers as well. We know that Kirby Yates, according to Ken Rosenthal, still remains a top priority for the Rangers. Could Kirby Yates potentially find his way back to Arlington at the end of this offseason? And then some news coming out today. Chris Martin, a big target for the Rangers as of right now as well. Could that be in addition to Kirby Yates? Could that be something completely by itself? We will see. I'll read into the report with you guys. And of course, we'll take all of your questions and comments along the way. Appreciate you joining in and choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Texas Rangers content. Let's go ahead and let's get started with the show. I'm going to be checking the chat here and there. Got a few different things planned for the show, of course, but I think it would be appropriate for us to start with the Rangers signing Joc Pederson. Now, I definitely posted about this on my socials, on X, on Facebook, kind of gave some initial reaction, but for those of y'all that were with me when we went live for Nate Lowe, we talked about when Nate Lowe got traded. We talked about the fact that the Rangers were going to have to do something. Going to have to do something in the lineup to make that trade worth it. I don't know if I was totally on the page of great trade for just getting Robert Garcia in a 1-for-1. I think you had to have some kind of corresponding move replacing Nate Lowe in the lineup, and the Rangers did that. I mean, almost like within 12 hours, right? Nate Lowe was announced like in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 2:45 my time. And then like 12 hours later, in the dead of night, Joc Pederson gets signed. So look, 12 hours later, CY has a move in place, ready to go. And that was exactly what I was looking for from the Nate Lowe trade. What are the Rangers going to do next? And can we go out and get a power bat, somebody that can be an upgrade over Nate Lowe? I have no idea how Jake Burger is going to do playing first base. And having listened to some of CY's interviews, they did a big media session after Joc Pederson was signed. Didn't talk about Joc just because I think the deal was still in the works, but they talked about a couple of other moves, the Nate Lowe trade specifically, and they feel very comfortable with Jake Burger playing first base. I think they referenced the fact that they were able to really get Nate Lowe to a really, really good point in his first base skills in 2023. Nate Lowe was not an elite defender per se coming to the Rangers organization. The Rangers really feel like they were able to develop Nate Lowe's glove into the glove that it is today, which is, in my opinion, perennial Gold Glove caliber. Nate Lowe was a finalist this last year, didn't end up winning. I think Carlos Santana won the Gold Glove in the American League this year at first base. But Nate Lowe, a guy who finished as a finalist this year, won the Gold Glove last year. I definitely think that they feel confident that they're going to be able to develop Jake Burger into a very good defensive first baseman also. And I'm going to trust him. I'm going to see how it goes this year. I think we got to be a little bit patient with Jake Berger. Got to see what he's got, how hard he's worked in the offseason before we come to any harsh conclusions. I'm going to give a long runway for Berg, and I'm going to hope that the Rangers are right. They're betting on themselves a little bit, that they're going to be able to bring Jake Berger up to the level that he needs to be to play that position 150 plus times. In my position, in my opinion, I think first base is one of the tougher positions to play in the game of baseball, period. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot mentally that you have to be able to account for before every play, before the ball is pitched. And I definitely think that Jake Berger can be serviceable there. I think that the Rangers are going to have to develop that glove and take what they can get from him offensively, which we know can be 30 home run potential. I think they're sacrificing a little bit of the glove for the offense. And look, after the abysmal offensive start that the Rangers had in 2024 and really into the season, it was a poor start, especially after Josh Young went down. But then it just had its really pathetic moments in the middle of the summertime into August. And then in September, we hit a little bit of a stride, like after we had already been eliminated. So I can understand why the Rangers are wanting to prioritize offense over defense right now. So the Joc Pederson move kind of goes right in that same vein. Joc Pederson, a definite upgrade over Nate Lowe. Saw some Rangers fans kind of questioning how big of an upgrade Joc really is. I think what you have to consider is this. Joc Pederson has performed at an elite level in October. Joc Pederson is a guy that can drive the ball out of the ballpark, hits fastballs very, very well. I think he is going to slot in nicely into the middle of the order. Not sure exactly where the Rangers want to hit him at this point. I kind of drew up a little bit of a lineup that I'll run past you guys here in a little bit, but I would say Joc is a guy I've wanted for the past couple of years now. I wanted the Rangers to sign him last year. Didn't end up working out. Glad that they finally get him this year. Excited to see Joc Pederson in a Rangers uniform, an all-star, a guy that has performed on the biggest of stages. I think Joc Pederson is going to be a huge, huge help. And I'm excited to see what this Rangers offense is going to look like in 2025. I think they're clearly counting on some rebound. They're counting on some guys that regressed majorly last year to bounce back. But you're also implementing what I referred to last year as some really, really high quality insurance policies, right? You're not counting on Adolis Garcia to bounce back to 2023 form. You're going out and proactively signing Joc Pederson. Right? You're not counting on everybody in the outfield to be all-star level. You're going out and you're solidifying the depth on the roster to make sure that if you do continue to see some of those struggles that some key Rangers had in 2024, you have somebody in the wings that can step up and maybe take over that role completely. If Adolis Garcia does not bounce back this year, Joc Pederson's probably going to be playing a lot more outfield than what we're projecting right now. If Evan Carter doesn't return to form, we're going to see a lot more Joc Pederson probably playing left field, and then Dolly in right. And then, we've got Wyatt Langford perhaps moving to center in that scenario. So I like the fact that Joc is a guy that can DH for us, but he's also a guy you can plug into the outfield if one of those outfielders is really struggling. Evan Carter was 0 for his last however many before the injury. I think we can definitely attribute his struggles last year to some of the back issues that he was having. I really hope Evan Carter can get back to the September and October 2023 form, but I'm glad that the Rangers aren't putting all of their eggs in that basket. Neither are they putting all their eggs in the Dolly to bounce back to 2023 form basket either. This Joc Pederson move gives you some flexibility, some versatility in the lineup. I think it's huge. And I don't think that the Rangers overpaid either. I think 37, 38 million, whatever it is for Joc Pederson is a really good deal. And Joc would have to have a monster season to opt out of that deal. I think there is an opt-out, correct, after the first year. I think Joc would really have to have a monster season to opt out. You would have to be guaranteed that you're making over 20 mil. Joc is obviously making about 8.5, something like that. 18.5. So if he can get better than that, more power to him. But what I'm trying to say is I think that they have a pretty good chance of retaining him past this year. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into the comments. I am definitely wanting to see what you guys think, get your reaction. So I'll kind of bounce back and forth between TikTok and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. So let's get right into it. I'll sift through the good stuff. Aaron, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Despite losing Lowe, I'm pretty excited for the 2025 season. Let's go Rangers. Totally agreed, Aaron. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate the comment as well. Look, I'm going to miss Nate Lowe. I think a lot of us are going to miss Nate Lowe. He's a great guy to have in the clubhouse. You go back and you watch the 2023 celebration. Nate totally manhandling a beer, shirtless in the back of a pickup truck. Does it get more Texas Rangers than that? Like, Nate Lowe is freaking awesome. I love Nate Lowe. But I think that this move needed to be made. You needed to upgrade the lineup above what Nate Lowe was giving you. Nate Lowe is consistent. He gives you 20 homers, maybe a little less than that, 70 to 75 RBI, and he hits about 260 to 270. Like, he's a very consistent hitter if you go back and look at his numbers. Now, maybe you would say consistently average, consistently mediocre. It depends on what you think of a 20 homer, 70 RBI season. But we know that the first base position is one where you want to see power. You want to see prowess when it comes to the bat, to driving in runs. Nate, I think, left something to be desired in that area. For as much as he brought in defense and intangibles in the clubhouse, I definitely think a lot of us Rangers fans would have loved to have seen Nate Lowe's power really get tapped into as a Ranger. He put on a show. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Nate Lowe take BP. The guy can drive the ball out of the ballpark, 100%. The dude puts on a show in BP. You just wish that could translate to the field, to the batter's box, and it really didn't. I know Nate got over 20 home runs a couple of different times during his tenure with the Rangers, but you want to see more consistency there. And I think that getting Joc Pederson, effectively replacing Nate Lowe with Joc Pederson, and then getting Jake Burger in the lineup every day, a guy who's averaged over 30 home runs his past 2 seasons, I think it's the right move. I'll miss Nate Lowe, the guy, the teammate, the clubhouse presence. I'll miss the glove. You will probably start to see, I mean, mark my words, I don't want it to be true, but we will miss Nate Lowe's defense at some point this season. It'll be a scoop late in the game, a pick play, that Burger fumbles. It'll be something weird. I don't want to put negative energy out there. I think a lot of y'all know I try and keep it positive, glass half full, but we'll feel Nate Lowe's absence in the field at some point. I know it's easy to say, don't care. We need better offense, yada, yada. At some point, I think Nate Lowe's missing glove will come into play. I'll put it that way. I just hope it's not in the biggest of moments and the Rangers can get Jake Burger up to a really, really above average level with the glove. Let me keep going here. Appreciate all the comments. Aaron, how do I feel about the Rangers stacking up the pitching? I like it. I kind of feel a little bit like the relief pitching is a bit of a crapshoot. You don't really know what you're going to get out of some of these guys. You may have saw some of the Rangers transactions. So they signed Hobie Milner. I believe that Hobie was he with the Cubs last year? I'm trying to remember off the fly here. Looks like last year he was with Milwaukee. Excuse me. I knew it was somewhere NL Central. Hobie Milner was with Milwaukee. Then you get Sharm Armstrong. I believe he pitched for the Rays when they were in the playoffs last season. He had a, believe, 188. That was in 2023, excuse me. 188 batting average again. So last year was a little bit of a fall back down to earth. 289 average. This is Sean Armstrong we're talking about. Opponents were averaging 289 against Sharm Armstrong. I think both Milner and Armstrong are bounce back guys. Like you're taking a little bit of a flyer on them, and you're hoping that it works out. But Milner and Armstrong for me. Both kind of bounce back dudes at this point. And you're just hoping you hit on one or two of them. Like if Hobie Milner or Sean Armstrong, I know they signed, I think it was on the 23rd, Patrick Murphy to a minor league contract, invited him to spring training. Patrick Murphy was with the Twins organization last year, did not pitch at the major league level last year, pitched for Washington in 2022, pitched for, I believe, Toronto in 2020. And look, then last year was pitching for the St. Paul Saints in the minor leagues. So I think what the Rangers are doing is they're taking some flyers and they're hoping that they can get one or two of these guys performing at a high level, bouncing back and having a really good season. I don't think that any of these relief pitcher moves are really going to move the needle very much for any Rangers fan right now. But I will say, I think we're going to look back and one or two of these guys is going to become something special, somebody that we use in big moments, in big situations. Don't know who it's going to be. Don't really have any kind of crazy guess. By the way, if you're interested in some of the background, Hobie Milner actually is from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I believe he said in his interview that they did with him that he lives in North Richland Hills. Seemed like a really cool guy. I know he is excited to be back in the Metroplex area. Maybe a little bit of an injection of positiveness into him and his season as it approaches, kind of being back in familiar territory. Went to the University of Texas as well. So this is a Texas guy talking about Hobie Milner, lefty that the Rangers just signed, and of course is going to be someone that they are going to be utilizing in the bullpen. In CY's words, Hobie Milner is going to raise the floor of the bullpen. I like the way that he puts that, right? You have some weak links in your bullpen. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. You want to have quality depth out in the pen. You can't have 10 guys that are just like Kirby Yates, but you need guys that are going to be able to go in a variety of situations. We talked about this a lot last year, how the Rangers lacked those relievers that could pitch and keep the game right where it was when we were down 3 or 4 runs, right? We had a dude that could get to the 8th inning, to the 9th inning. We did not have a guy that we could throw in there down 3 or 4 runs who could just keep it a 3 or 4 run game. All right, we had guys that would come in, it's a 3 or 4 run deficit, and now we look up a couple minutes later and we're down 5 or 6 runs, right? Or we're ahead by 4 or 5. Don't want to use any of the guys like David Robertson or Kirby Yates. And look, we're in a spot where Kirby Yates is having to warm up because, the tying run is, in the on deck circle or whatever the case is. So to put a sum on it, I think that these guys that the Rangers are signing are guys that they feel good about having bounce back years. Time is going to tell, but I'm going to put my faith in Chris Young. I think he's got a really good eye for this kind of thing. He did it with Kirby Yates and David Robertson. I'm hopeful that one of these guys, Patrick Murphy, Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner, one of them will become someone that we're going to be using in those high leverage spots. I don't think they're going to be closers. I don't think they're going to be guys that are maybe in the 8th or 9th inning per se, but we all know 6th inning, you got runners on 2nd and 3rd. You need a guy that can come in who's not your closer, not your setup man. And I hope one of these guys can turn into maybe a high leverage guy of sorts when it's the 6th, 7th inning. Get it to those setup guys, get it to those closers. So I like what they're doing. I'm hopeful that one of them will hit. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw the corresponding moves that were made from signing some of these players. So guys that have been DFA'd. Owen White was DFA'd, I believe, in a corresponding move with the Hobie Milner signing. And then Sam Huff DFA'd as well. I believe that was in relation to the Sean Armstrong signing. Nate Lowe and Garcia, that's a swap on the 40-man, so nothing there. Don't know what is going to happen with Joc Pederson. Maybe that, and maybe one of those moves, Sam Huff or Owen White, was for Joc Pederson. Not sure on that one. If one of y'all know, let me know. But I definitely think that, there's still some moves to be made here. We'll see. But Sam Huff designated for assignment, And then we also had Owen White designated for assignment as well. Let me keep going here. Let me get to TikTok. We got to scroll back a ways. Thank you, y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging out, being patient. Still hearing talks of signing Pete Alonso. Haven't heard any talks like that. Haven't heard that myself. Now, I don't know if at this point the Rangers are really going to want to invest a lot more money into the lineup or not. I do think Joc Pederson was kind of the cherry on top. If they sign Pete, I'll be interested to see what the deal is, but I think right now they feel pretty confident. I think CY in his interview would have come out and been a little bit more vague if they didn't feel good about Jake Burger. CY, and all the time I've been listening to him and following him, I don't really feel like he just throws things out there. It's very calculated. I really feel like if they were trying to go out and get Pete Alonso still, you would have heard CY not say as much about Jake Burger. He might have said something like, we're still evaluating the first base position. We want Jake in the lineup. They've already said Jake Burger is going to be a mainstay, but you could have said a lot less. Instead, they came out and basically said, we have confidence that the coaching staff is going to get Jake Burger up to snuff and ready to go 150 plus games. And so I think Jake Burger is going to be the guy at first base. I really don't see them signing Pete, but we'll see. Let me keep going here. Appreciate the comments. Thank you to everybody joining in. Appreciate the follow, by the way. I see a couple of y'all followed while we were going here. Thank you. Thank you. Still going here, guys. Still scrolling through. Joc et al. Will see better pitches. Yeah, hopefully healthy lineup. Totally agreed. And we'll see where Joc ends up in the lineup. I have a proposed lineup that I'm going to share with y'all after I get through the comments, but I do think Joc is going to be seeing some good pitches, solves a lot of the problems we had last year. We did not have a dude that consistently hit home runs in the middle of the lineup. I think Joc can be that guy. We did not have a ton of dudes that could hit the fastball really well. Joc can. So I think that Joc is going to help us out big time. See what happens. But I'm feeling really good about that signing. Rangers have easily had one of the best offseasons. Sasaki would cement it. So Roki Sasaki is a guy that I was going to talk about later in the show, but I'll go ahead and talk about him now. So Roki Sasaki right now is meeting with different teams around the league. He is rejecting, though, meeting with certain teams. So I believe I read the Red Sox, for example, have not been granted a meeting yet with Roki Sasaki. So he's not meeting with everybody. So I think the fact that he met with the Rangers face-to-face, I believe last week, is what Chris Young said. And it was a really good meeting, according to Chris Young. I mean, of course, you're going to say that. CY, though, tight-lipped on how the meeting went. Specifically, just said they enjoyed their time. I think, though, the positive that you got to take away is that not every major league team is getting a meeting with Roki Sasaki. And so the fact that the Rangers are, I think, has got to make you feel good and positive about their prospects. Clearly, he's going to have a lot of suitors, and he's going to be able to have his pick of where he goes. But the fact that the Rangers were granted this in-person meeting, I think, does bode very, very well for their chances. I hope that they are able to get him. That would definitely, to use your words, really cement the Rangers offseason. And I do think they have had a very, very high-quality offseason. If you just judge it from the fact that their top priority was re-signing Evo, they got that done. And then you get Joc Pederson. You get a good bat that goes really, really well and complements other pieces that you have in the lineup. For me, I think the Rangers are definitely, at minimum, getting a B for the offseason. Sasaki would make it an A+, no doubt. Let me keep going here. Appreciate the follows. Thank you so much. Thank you for the likes. Appreciate the gift, by the way, too. Thank you so much. King Cheese, appreciate you. Means a lot. Thank you, sir. All right. Any chance on Evaldi coming back? He's already back, bro. Where you been? I know it's hard to keep up, but Evo, 3 years, $75 million was the deal. 3 years, $75 million for Evo. Rangers got him back. So big, big news. That's, like I said, the number one priority of their offseason was getting Nate Evaldi back. So you get that done. I think everything else is just icing, right? And the cherry on top. So we'll see. I think Joc is going to round out the lineup. I really don't anticipate anything beyond maybe some depth moves. But in terms of mainstays in the lineup, I think the Rangers are pretty much right where they want to be. You go get a Pete Alonso, now somebody's going to the bench. I did say this. I feel like you got to trade either Ezekiel Duran or Josh Smith. I would rather trade Duran than Josh Smith. I think Smith would still be nice to have around. But at this point, I thought that Josh Smith was going to be a guy that could get 400 plus ABs in 2025. I really don't see him getting 400 plus ABs with the acquisition of Joc Pederson. Even if he occasionally got the spot start for Seager or Simeon or Young, I don't think that you're going to be benching one of those three big names every 3 days. So I don't see Josh Smith getting super regular playing time. All it takes is one injury, and suddenly he is getting regular playing time. But I do think Duran, one of those two should be traded. You can go and use one of them as bait to get another reliever, to reholster, to bolster up the minor league system. I mean, for me, I think one of those two guys has got to go. I don't think you should hold on to Zeke and to Josh. They're kind of the same type of player in that they can kind of play everything. I know some people were mentioning like Zeke Duran can play first base. He can play outfield. He can play infield. I mean, Josh Smith could too. I don't think you need two of those types of players. I mean, you can throw anybody out at first base. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. Same thing for outfield. Zeke in the outfield definitely had its moments, like good and bad. Dude's got a cannon. But I don't know. I just don't think you need to keep both those players. Maybe they will, but I would be using one of them as trade bait to either bolster up the minor leagues or perhaps get a reliever, somebody that is available, controllable, that could help us win right now. Let me keep going here. Let me see what we got. Appreciate everybody tuning in on YouTube and Facebook here. Let me see what we got. Will they let Joc DH against both righties and lefties or just righties? I'd imagine they're going to play around with that a little bit. But here's kind of the alternatives. If you're sitting Joc against lefties, I mean, who are you replacing him with? Josh Smith? There's another lefty. Zeke Duran? I'd probably rather have Joc hit over Zeke Duran. I mean, wouldn't you guys? I would much rather have Josh Smith over Zeke Duran, but I'd rather have Joc Pederson hit than Zeke Duran. I think he's a better hitter. I don't know what the splits are. I'll look up the splits for Joc and see if we can read into anything here. He did not play every day last year, so I think that's got to tell you something. But let me look at the splits for Joc and kind of see if I can get a feel for this. So hang with me for just a moment. We're talking about whether or not Joc Pederson should be a guy that plays every day or not. So against lefties, he hit 219 in 32 at-bats. So he did not get a lot of ABs against lefties. I'd be interested to see what the career numbers are. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find career numbers. I'll probably have to go to Baseball Ref for that. But 219 against lefties, 281 against righties. Now, interesting, even against lefties, the OBP for Joc was 405. So despite the low average against lefties last year, he got on base 4 out of 10 times when he was facing a lefty. I would imagine the Rangers probably try to play him every day, but who knows what the plan is. We know how he was utilized last year. If you're not going to play him every day, again, who do you like as an alternative? I'd probably rather take my chances with Joc every day. Let me keep going here. Mike agrees with Natalie. He says Joc was serviceable against lefties last year. I don't know that we have a superior option. So, Mike, we're on the same page. Totally on the same page there if you're still hanging out. And I would rather take my chances with him than Josh Smith. I love Josh Smith, but Joc is a better hitter than Josh Smith. And Zeke Duran, same thing. Leote was unplayable against lefties last year. Evan Carter, they didn't want to play against lefties. I just don't think that you are going to want to bench Joc for anybody else that you have right now in your lineup on the roster. That's my opinion there. Mike says Joc is a stud. I've wanted us to get him for years as well. Love Lowe, but Joc is a big upgrade. I do think it is a noticeable upgrade. I really do. Joc is a guy I think you can fit in a number of different places in the lineup. He led off for the Dodgers way back when, like maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little less than that. He was the Dodgers leadoff hitter. He can definitely hit middle of the order if you need him to. I think he has a lot of versatility in that regard. John says, I'm excited about Joc. Totally agreed with you on that. John, thanks for the comment. Keep going. Let's see. Baseball Network, what's up? Got so much Texas gear last night. Hey, good stuff. Texas Longhorns playing this weekend. Excited. We'll see what happens. Excuse me. That's not till New Year's Day, is it? Wednesday. That's right. New Year's Day. John, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. If you're still hanging out, man, thank you so much. Mike says, Higgy, Joc, Berger, all mash homers. The lineup with Seager, Garcia, Young, Langford, and maybe even Simeon has the potential to lead the league in homers. That's something that has crossed my mind as well. I didn't want to say it out loud, just not jinxing it, but I agree with you. I think this is a very, very powerful lineup. Obviously, you got to hope everybody stays healthy, but I really do think this has the potential to be the best lineup in the American League. I don't think that you go up and down any other team's lineup right now and really feel like anybody is just leaps and bounds better than the Rangers offensively. The Yankees, I mean, they obviously replace Soto with Bellinger and they add a couple other pieces, but I don't know if I would put the Yankees lineup above the Rangers right now. I know everybody's going to have a little bit of a negative attitude about the Rangers just because of how they finished in 2024. But when you look at this lineup, top to bottom, I really actually feel like this is the best lineup in the American League. Now, if we continue to get the same regression from everybody and no one who sucked last year, for lack of a better expression, gets any better, we'll see. But if we can get Doley bouncing back even a little bit, right? If we can get Jonah Heim bouncing back even a little bit, some of these guys that were uncharacteristically bad last year, just getting 10% better, you're going to see, I think, a huge, huge difference. And adding Joc Pederson and Jake Berger, I think, is definitely going to help put this team back on the right track, getting back to that 2023 form where the Rangers were just an absolute force to be reckoned with offensively. Keep going here. John says pitching needs to improve this year. I think that the health of the pitching staff is what really needs to improve. I mean, Andrew Heaney was the only starting pitcher last year for the Rangers that did not have to go on the injured list. And that is wild, but it's true. Everybody else in the Rangers rotation was injured at some point. Andrew Heaney, the only guy that never went to the injured list. So I think if the Rangers can stay healthy pitching-wise, that's going to go a long way to getting better, to improving. I think the fact that you had so many injuries to starting pitching last year just really, really hurt the club. So if you can get a full year of DeGrom or an almost full year of DeGrom, same thing with Tyler Mahle, same thing with Cody Bradford, and whoever else they're planning on being at the back end of the rotation. You figure John Gray is probably going to get some starts. I think a lot of us Rangers fans that have watched John Gray are a little bit leery of him continuing on as a starter. Personally, I'd like to see John Gray go more to a pen-type role, but I don't know what their plan is going to be. I think it really depends, too, how are Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter developing. Jack, I think, is going to be on the opening day roster. I don't know if it's going to be as a starter, but I think that what Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker show you in spring training is going to go a long way in determining what the back end of the rotation looks like. Because you kind of figure right now it's going to be DeGrom, Evo, probably Bradford, and then maybe Mahle, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I would be doing. Now, that fifth spot, I think maybe you go 6-man rotation, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, John Gray, and give them each maybe kind of a little bit of a turn here and there. I think you let Kumar Rocker cook and you see what he's got. And if he's struggling a little bit, maybe you do throw in one of the other guys. But it wouldn't shock me if Rangers do a 6-man rotation at different times this season, giving DeGrom an extra day, even giving Evo an extra day. These are guys that are in their upper 30s, getting close to the end of their career. I think a 6-man rotation would be very, very wise, and I think the Rangers have the arms to do it. We'll see. We'll keep going here. Tristan, if you're still hanging out, happy late, Merry Christmas, and Merry Christmas to everybody. We thought about going live last night, but look, we got caught up doing the family thing, opening gifts, hanging out, watching football, and it just wasn't meant to be. So my apologies. I know I was going to throw something out to you guys, but decided let's go on Thursday. Little bit less going on. I know that football starts up here in about 20 minutes or so. So I'll get y'all off to football here in a little bit, but figured we'd hang out, talk a little Rangers on a Thursday. We'll get back to Wednesday shows next week. Actually, next week might be hard too, y'all. We might have to go Thursday back-to-back weeks. New Year's Day, a lot of football on. It's going to be a football Wednesday next week, so we might have to go Thursday again. So pardon the back-to-back Thursdays, but I know that y'all are flexible and I hang in there. If you can't watch it on Thursday, y'all know you got the replay too. Me, keep going. Mike says, agree on the Penn signings. I think Robert Garcia is a sleeper stud. Peripherals are outstanding. You weren't going to see the Rangers just mow down the top free agents from a bullpen perspective, right? Tanner Scott is still out there. You've got some other big names, Kirby Yates, obviously, and Ken Rosenthal reported Rangers are still very much interested in Kirby Yates. He's still very much a priority for them to sign. So maybe you do see the Rangers make a big signing in that way. But I was never expecting the Rangers to just pluck all the top relievers, in the free agent market. I don't think that was ever going to be the realistic plan. You kind of thought that they were going to do the same thing as what they did last year. You signed Kirby Yates. It's kind of a little bit of an under-the-radar move. You signed David Robertson. He's got World Series pitching experience. He's been in the league for a long time. And you just kind of hope that veteran-savvy presence becomes something special. And it did. And so I think the Rangers, Chris Young specifically, are very good at recognizing the potential for bounce backs, the potential for getting a guy back on track with what they've done historically in their career. We'll see. I am really, really thinking, though, at this point, if the Rangers can hit on two of those guys that they signed, the kind of relative no-namers, the Hobie Milners, the Sean Armstrong, the Patrick Murphys, like those aren't names that a lot of us know immediately when we see them, right? Unless you're just a freaking diehard and you know every single roster up and down. Even I don't. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. The Rangers and keeping up with them is kind of enough for me. But look, Sean Armstrong, I had remembered from the playoffs. Hobie Milner, I definitely had heard the name here and there. Patrick Murphy, nope. But one of those guys, I'm sure, is probably going to have a really good year for us. Maybe one or two of them don't work out, but I trust CY. Until he just has an offseason of complete duds with relief pitching acquisitions, I'm going to trust the guy. Keep going. Let's see here. Could see Joc batting leadoff. That's really interesting. Let me get into who I think should bat where in the lineup, and y'all can be free to disagree. All right. I don't have any kind of major stake in this lineup. It's just something that I drew up. Here's what I'd like, and I'll explain my lineup to y'all a little bit as I go about it. So Semien, Seager, Langford is who I'd like to see 1, 2, 3. I would like Joc Pederson to be the guy that DHs and hits cleanup. I like the righty-lefty. So if you're wondering why I don't have Garcia, why I don't have those guys up a little bit higher, I want to maintain righty-lefty as much as I can. I think it puts pressure on the other team when they're doing their bullpen moves late. When you stack the lefties or when you stack the righties, I think it makes you vulnerable when you're later in ball games. I'd like to see the righty-lefty. So Semien, Seager, Langford, Pederson, then Garcia hitting 5th, Josh Young 6th, Berger 7th, Heim Higgy 8th, and then Carter 9th. That's what I've got for the lineup. So Semien, Seager, Langford, Pederson, Garcia, Young, Berger, Heim Higgy, and then Carter. I think that this lineup is going to be able to go a number of different ways. Chris Young said it himself. There's a lot of flexibility. You could easily have Garcia hitting fourth. You could move Joc Pederson up and have him hit third. Again, I like Langford hitting third because you've got Seager, lefty, up before him. And I do think Langford is going to be a guy that can protect Corey Seager this next season. I think we saw him start blossoming. If he proves me wrong or proves you wrong, you can always move Wyatt Langford back. But I do think that he should be given a chance to protect Corey Seager hitting third. And if it struggles, then you move it and you try something different. But I think Langford needs a chance to be the kind of hitter that he's ultimately going to be. Wyatt Langford is not a 6, 7, 8 type hitter. This is a guy that is meant to hit up at the top of your lineup. I think it needs to be in the 3 spot until he proves you otherwise. Then Pederson, I think better bat than Garcia. I don't like what I saw from Adolis Garcia last year. I'm really hoping he rebounds. But for right now, I feel better about Joc than I do about Dolly. And so I want Joc getting more at bats than Dolly in the long run, especially against a righty. Maybe against a lefty, you move Joc Pederson down a little bit more. I think Dolly hit lefties pretty well last year. So maybe lefty, righty, you flip-flop Pederson and Garcia. So there you go on that. And then Josh Young, I think he is a guy that could easily hit third against lefties. We know Josh Young crushes left-handed pitching. This is what I mean. There's so much versatility. So I'm not married to this lineup that I drew up. Definitely willing to go back and forth with whichever moves you think are just totally wild or out there, out of left field. Pun intended on that one, by the way. But Berger then 7th. And then, Heim, Higgy, I think that that's a good spot for them, 8th. And then Carter, you got a little speed. You kind of got that second leadoff hitter down at the bottom. I like Carter hitting in the 9th spot. I think that, in 2023, him hitting in the 3 hole, it was necessary. I don't think that you need to have Carter up at the top of the lineup. It's a good way to ease him back into action. And again, I love the concept of the second leadoff hitter in the 9 hole, a guy with wheels, a guy who puts the ball in the gaps. I think Evan Carter is going to be really, really useful down at the bottom of the order. We'll see what they do. I am so pumped to see the first lineup that Bruce Bochy puts out on opening day. So pumped for that. It's going to be really, really fun this year just to see how the Rangers construct and put everything together that they've done this offseason. Let me keep going. Let's see here. Any news on Evan Carter? John, here's what I've heard on Carter. I've heard, and this is from Evan Grant, Dallas Morning News. He has asked about Evan Carter on a number of occasions, and everything is pointing to Evan Carter is going to be a full participant in spring training and be ready to go for the season. So I really do feel good about all the Rangers that were ailing last year. Dolly, Seager, Carter, Young. I think everybody's going to be a full go. They got multiple months off. I think everyone's going to be a full participant in spring training. I have not heard any setback news at all on anyone. So I think the Rangers are going to have all of their toys to play with, so to speak, for this coming spring training. All the shiny new toys they got for Christmas, Joc Pederson, and all the toys that they've got from the past, the big, expensive signings. I think everybody's going to be a full go, and I'm really, really pumped for that. Let me keep going. Let's see. The big podcasts are still trying to say the Astros lineup is better. Maybe I'm a homer, but I just don't see it. Our lineup rose together in 23, fell together in 24. I think they rise again in 25. I'd have to look at the Astros lineup. I don't think it's a bad lineup by any means. I think losing Kyle Tucker is a big, big deal. I think Isaac Paredes is good. I think he's good to great. I don't think that Isaac Paredes is as good as Tucker is. Paredes, obviously the guy that they got for Tucker in the trade from Chicago. I think you lose Bregman. I know you got Alvarez and Altuve, but I just don't see how you say the Astros lineup is better. I know the catcher is pretty good, but I think up and down, the Rangers lineup is definitely, I think even just from a name value perspective, most casuals are going to say Rangers lineup is better. And then I think when you really dig into the numbers and the potential as well, I think most people are going to say in 2025, the Rangers lineup sits better than Houston's also. Still laughing about Nolan Arenado rejecting a trade to the Astros, by the way. I think everybody, never let them live that down, please. That Nolan Arenado didn't want to come play for them. Future Hall of Famer, just never gets old. Never gets old. Rejecting a trade to the Astros. Man, would love to be in that spot myself. Nope, not going to play in Houston. Sorry. So we'll see what happens with Houston, but I really don't see that lineup on paper or really anybody besides a Houston homer thinking that the Astros have a better lineup currently than the Rangers do. Christian Walker, I definitely have respect for. And if you look at Christian Walker, he definitely has had some really good seasons. I mean, I don't know how personally am not too worried about Seawalk. I think that he is a great player, Gold Glove caliber first base, but I'm not too worried about Christian Walker. In 2024, he had 84 RBI, 26 home runs, hit 250. I mean, that's a solid player. I don't know if that's elite, all-star, scary type player. Is a 3-time Gold Glover, so that's huge, but I don't think this is a guy that you just fear and you're shaking in your boots every time he comes up to the plate. I think he's solid. He's going to work well in their lineup. Definitely wouldn't mind if we had Christian Walker. Let me put it to you that way. But 2.6 WAR, again, 250 average, 335 OBP. Not a guy that gets on base a ton. I think the strikeout numbers are pretty high. I still say Rangers lineup is better, but of course, y'all see what hat I'm wearing right now. So full disclosure. Let me keep going. Astros lineup, I would agree with this, Natalie, is very top heavy. You've got obviously Altuve, you've got Alvarez, and then you've got Christian Walker, you've got Paredes, he's going to be in there too. Who's their catcher? What's their catcher's name? I can't keep up with everybody. Their catcher, they got a pretty good young catcher as well that I think hit like clean up for them or hit fifth for them. So I think that they're definitely going to be solid up at the top. The bottom feels like it drops off a little bit. I know Jake Myers was having a really good year for them. Their center fielder, he kind of dipped off a little bit at the end of the year. They got McCormick still that mixes in. He loves to play against the Rangers. I don't know how he does against everybody else. But look, the Astros lineup is not going to be a pushover, but I don't think that they're better than the Rangers right now as currently constructed. Let me keep going here. So the news that came out today, I don't know if y'all saw this, but the news that came out today is that Arlington native Chris Martin is being strongly linked to the Rangers. Chris Martin obviously was a pitcher last year for Boston, had a 3.45 ERA. He is getting up there in age, Chris Martin is. Super tall, 6'8", 224, huge dude. I believe he pitched for Martin High School. Is that correct? Martin High School? Arlington High School. Okay, he pitched in Arlington High School. That's right. I thought Martin for some reason, but Arlington it is. That actually is my alma mater. Martin was a few years before me, though, so didn't go to school with him. I believe when I was a freshman, he would have had to have been when I was a freshman in high school, he would have had to have been like a senior or something like that. So never got to play with him, didn't know him or anything like that, but same high school. And look, guy had a great year last year. Definitely remember 2019 when he pitched for us, had a 3.08 ERA. 2018, I think, was a little bit rough. He pitched in Japan in 2016 and 2017, but Chris Martin being linked to the Texas Rangers right now, I would imagine he is going to command close to double-digit millions, so we will see. But Sports Illustrated reporting that the Rangers are a big-time player in the Chris Martin sweepstakes. We shall see what ends up happening there, but looks like he is asking for $13.5 million a year. Looks like he signed a 2-year, $13.5 million deal with the Red Sox that ended last year. It's not giving me a whole lot more information in this Sports Illustrated article. Martin was one of the Red Sox most important hurlers over the last 2 years, logged a 2.16 total ERA across 100 appearances. So 2.16 ERA in your last 100 appearances, pretty dang good. So Chris Martin, a guy that is being linked to the Rangers right now. We don't know a whole lot more than that, but I will say this. If Chris Martin is getting paid what he's asking or close to it, I'm sure he would love to come back home. Most Texas boys do. Sure, he'd love to get back home to Arlington and pitch for the Rangers again. I think the feel around the league really does appear to be, and I know that it's a lot, maybe just blowing wind up the skirt, so to speak. Like, it seems like everybody who has signed with the Rangers has talked about the potential that they have to win a World Series. And I know that that might just be a cliche thing that a lot of people say when it comes to their interviews at the very beginning when they first rejoin or join the team. But I do think Texas is seen around the league as a competitor, as a contender for a World Series. And I think that you're seeing that rub off. I'm sure that there were some other people that were interested in Joc Pederson. I'm sure that Roki Sasaki has other suitors out there. He gave a meeting to the Rangers, though. Why? Because I think that he knows the Rangers are a well-run organization that has the potential to win a World Series. So I think that the consensus around the league is that the Rangers are going to get back to October and have a chance to win it all. Right now, I'd be curious to see what the odds-on favorite or who the odds-on favorite is to win the MLB World Series. I'm sure Dodgers are probably right up there if I had to guess. But beyond that, I wonder who like the top 5 are. So here's 2025 MLB odds to win the World Series. Let's see what we got here. So we've got Dodgers at plus 375. So basically 4-1. Yankees are 8-1. Mets are 8-1. Braves are 8.5 to 1. Orioles 12. Houston 12. Phillies 12. Rangers are at 25 to 1 right now. This article, by the way, was posted on the 22nd, so about 4 days ago. I'm actually really surprised to see the Rangers as low as they are right now at 25 to 1. I feel like you almost, if you want to bet the Rangers, which y'all know, I bet the Rangers every year to win the World Series. Couple of years, it paid off for me in a big way. Every year that I've been out in Vegas, I always bet on the Rangers to win it all. But at 25 to 1, that means what you could put down $40 and make $1,000 if the Rangers win the World Series. I don't know. To me, that's a pretty good deal. I think that's pretty close to what I did in 2023. They were 50 to 1 in 2023 when they won it all. So I put down $20 and made $1,000. I mean, that was a lot of fun. One of the best bets, one of the biggest long shot bets I've ever hit. Rangers 50 to 1 to win the World Series in 2023. So this year I'll have to put a little bit more up. $40 will get you $1,000 off 25 to 1 odds. I'm actually really surprised the Rangers are that low considering the moves that they made this offseason. And I'm surprised to see other teams up there so high. I think a lot of it is name brand. Right now, by the way, Rangers over under is 85.5 wins. 85.5 wins is the over under. I really have a hard time believing that the Rangers aren't going to win 86 plus games this year. They were in the 70s last year? And they've made moves to clearly get better. I would probably be taking the over 86 wins or higher, and I would be taking the Rangers to win the division. They are 3 to 1 to win the division right now. They are 12 to 1 to win the American League pennant. The odds seem low to me. I think if you like the Rangers, which we all do, put a little futures bet down. I think that it's definitely going to start sinking as the on-field results start coming in. Not going to surprise me at all if that 25 to 1 starts coming down. me keep going, though. Chris Martin, though, last thing we talked about, Arlington guy, Arlington High School. Sure would be great to get Chris Martin back in the mix, pitch for the Rangers, back in 18 and 19. Would love to have him back, a guy who's pitched lights out for the Red Sox over his last 100 appearances. That'd be huge. Beyond that, don't think there's a whole lot of new news to go through. We know Kirby Yates is going to be a top priority still. We know that the Rangers are being linked to Chris Martin, a big right-handed relief pitcher who pitched with the Boston Red Sox last year. We think that the Rangers are probably done offensively, besides maybe some depth pieces. I haven't heard any other links to big-name free agents. And then beyond that, we talked through a little bit of the Joc Pederson signing. I'd hit him right behind Wyatt Langford, fourth in the lineup. I'd hit Langford third. I'd hit Joc Pederson fourth. I'd hit Doley fifth. That would be my preferred 3, 4, 5 there, especially if a right-hander's on the mound. If a lefty's on the mound, maybe you tweak it a little bit here and there. But beyond that, we also discussed Sam Huff being DFA'd. Look, Huff, I think, was a guy a lot of people thought was going to come up and be able to hit for power, kind of be a Joey Gallo type, if you will, before Joey Gallo went to the Yankees and kind of became a little bit of a nobody. I don't mean to disrespect Joey Gallo. He's actually one of my favorite Rangers players ever. I don't know why. I just always loved the dude. But I think that Joey is having a tough time in the league right now. But before we traded Joey Gallo, some of the potential you saw from Gallo, I think a lot of us thought we would maybe eventually see from Sam Huff. It just never happened. He was kind of one of those perennial quadruple A players. He's like kind of good enough to be a guy that you think about calling up, but then you call him up and he just doesn't do anything, doesn't perform, but can hit bombs in AAA and contribute at that level. But I think even the numbers for Sam Huff in AAA trailed off a little bit. I'm going to look right now, see what the AAA numbers were for Huff. So last year, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the minor league numbers right now. Let me see if I can sift through this real quick for y'all. Minors. Here we go. Minors batting. Perfect. So in 2024, he hit 246. I mean, look, in 2023, he hit 298 in AAA, and he hit 17 bombs, 67 RBI. Very respectable, but the OBP was 310 this year, so he wasn't getting on base a lot in AAA. I think the writing was just kind of on the wall for Sam Huff. So, look, I feel bad for the guy. Been in the Rangers organization for a long time, right? He was drafted in 2016, and he was the 219th overall pick out of, I believe, high school in Phoenix. Sam Huff was a guy I think a lot of people had high hopes for, just never worked out. Definitely wish him all the best. And then Owen White. I don't think any of us ever felt great about Owen White coming into a ball game last year. He had a 24 ERA in 3 games for the Rangers, 3 innings pitched, 8 earned runs, 9 hits allowed in those 3 innings. Like, he just looked lost. Opponents were hitting .529 against Owen White. I think that, again, to use the expression, the writing was on the wall with him. Just wasn't a guy that you were going to be keeping around. In the minor leagues, looks like he had a 276 batting average against, 564 ERA at AAA. So Owen White was just not cutting it at either level. Not surprised those 2 guys are DFA'd, but we love all Rangers players. We wish them all the best. Hope those guys find a good landing spot somewhere. A fresh start sometimes will do wonders for a player. Hoping that for Sam Huff and for Owen White. Appreciate all the likes, by the way. Means a lot, guys. Thank you for all the follows, too. Appreciate all the people that are following. And thank you for the gifts as well. Man, I do appreciate that. Thank you, King Cheese. Appreciate that. I'm going to see if I missed anything on TikTok here. I don't think I did. Bro, we need that picture from Japan. Also, re-sign Yates. I can maybe see Leiter as the closer. I don't know about Leiter as the closer. I think I'd rather have Kumar Rocker as the closer than Leiter. But I do think Sasaki, we're in the mix for. He's not going to sign anywhere before January 15th because he wants to be a part of that 2025 international draft class. It has to do with the money that is able to be allocated to him, to signing him, the signing bonus, all that good stuff. So basically, January 15th, I don't think we're going to hear a whole lot about Sasaki until then. We might hear who he's meeting with from time to time, but I don't think we're going to get any kind of answer before January 15th. And that's according to Ken Rosenthal and some really other big name, Jeff Passan, some other big name MLB reporters in the sport. But re-signing Yates, that'd be huge. I mean, ideally, if you can get Yates and Sasaki, I mean, you've won the offseason, in my opinion. I know the Mets got Juan Soto, and clearly that's a huge, huge deal. I don't know who you could say has had a better offseason than Texas. As you just look at all the different quality moves that they've made, you get Sasaki, you get Yates, you get Joc Pederson, you're able to get a lineup, and you're able to get Eovaldi back for your starting rotation. I really don't know who's had a better offseason if all those things come to fruition. Let me keep going here. Appreciate the comments. They help keep the show fresh. They really do. Means a lot. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I think I caught up on everything. I'll go back to comments on YouTube, Facebook, Insta one more time. And then we are going to head out for the evening, watch a little Thursday night football. I think the Seahawks and the Bears are playing right now, right? So we'll get into that here in just a sec. Let me see here. Mike says, would love a setup closer trio of Martin, Gray, Yates. That's nasty sounding. Martin and then Gray and then Yates. Like John Gray in the bullpen, I actually love. You have John Gray emptying the tank every single time out there. That fastball still has some bite on it. That slider can be devastating when he's just happened to throw it for one inning. Like you saw what John Gray looks like as a relief pitcher when he threw in the World Series and when he threw in the postseason in 2023. Would love to see John Gray be at the back end of the pen. I do think there's value for him right there. I mean, a little bit expensive, I think. John Gray's making $13 million this year. Little expensive for a relief pitcher. And look, John Gray, we love him. I don't know if he's worth $13 million as a relief pitcher, but I do think nevertheless, that would be a really, really good 7, 8, 9. We're talking 7th, 8th, 9th inning. John Gray, maybe in the 8th. You get Martin maybe in the 7th or vice versa. And then Kirby Yates closing out ball games. Yes. Yes, please. All right, we'll keep going. Mike says that the Mets wanted Joc, but he chose Texas. Kind of what I'm talking about. Like, Joc had other suitors. He chooses Texas. Why? Well-run organization, really good chance to win. And they have just won. And you know what? I don't put a lot of stock in the odds at the beginning of the year. Baseball is so unpredictable. There's always teams that show out that nobody thought was going to be that great. I mean, look, the Tigers were dead in the water in August, came out of nowhere, made the playoffs, won a playoff series. Anything can happen in baseball. That's why we love it. So I don't put a lot of stock in the Vegas odds. Rangers are sitting at 25-1 right now, 3-1 to win the AL West. Astros still the favorite. I don't get that, but you know what? I hope to take advantage of it by making a little money on my Rangers. I'll probably be going down, placing those bets sometime after spring training has started. I usually wait, try and let the dust settle, see what the Rangers do, who they add. There's always acquisitions leading up to spring training. So let's see how the roster rounds itself out. And then, like I said, we'll probably go and make that move up at the sportsbook counter at some point. Put my money down on the Rangers to win it all and to win the division. 85.5 is the win total for the Rangers. I'd take the over. Not going to be shocked if this is a 90-win team. I feel really, really positive. I know that the Rangers are motivated. None of them want to have the same season that they did in 2024. I think Simeon is going to have an epic bounce-back season. I don't know how much Doley, how much Heim are going to get back to form, but I do think the Rangers have added enough pieces to account for that. And I think Joc Pederson is a huge, huge move in getting the lineup back to that 2023 juggernaut form that it was. So, Link, let's call it a day. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for the follows. I see Holly, you just followed. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the likes. Rico, appreciate that. We're going to be back on, Sunday. Who do the Cowboys have this weekend? That's when I'll be back to do a little Cowboys football. CeeDee Lamb just gets announced as out for the season. Clearly, they just wanted him to get those 1,000 yards and then call it a day. Look, I can't blame him. The shoulder's beat up. The Cowboys are eliminated. It is what it is. But Cowboys play the Eagles. So we'll probably go live Sunday night and we'll talk Cowboys-Eagles. Look, it'd be great to play spoiler to Philadelphia at this point. I know the Cowboys don't have a whole lot to play for beyond that, but I'd love to spoil for the Eagles and for the Commanders. Commanders, I think if they win this week, they're in. But if they lose to the Falcons this week, the Cowboys could potentially knock the Commanders out of the playoffs by beating them in Week 18. We'll see what happens. So we'll be back Sunday, and then we'll probably be back Wednesday to talk Longhorns. Wednesday of next week, so 6 days from now, Texas plays Arizona State on New Year's Day in the quarterfinals. We'll see how that game goes. Texas currently a 14-point favorite, so Vegas doesn't think it's going to be a real good game. But you know what? It's playoffs. Anything can happen. So we'll be back on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Wednesday to talk Longhorns football, hopefully after another Texas Longhorns win. And then we will do our Rangers show the following day on Thursday. So I know Wednesdays are normally our day to talk Texas Rangers in the offseason. We're going to do Thursday, back-to-back weeks. New Year's Day on Wednesday, kind of tough to do on a holiday. So we'll go ahead and we'll bump the show to Thursday again. So if you're just here for the Rangers, come back again next Thursday, a week from today. We'll do another Rangers offseason pod for you. Take all your questions and comments just as we usually do. Want to say another special thank you. I'm grateful to all y'all. You know, this show, we started out January 2023. It's almost been 2 years, and it's grown just steadily over time. And a big part of that is you guys, all the likes, all the watching, the watch hours, whatever else follows, all of it. Comments, questions. You guys have helped me to grow this show, and I really appreciate you. And you know what? If you know somebody that's a big Rangers fan or loves Texas sports, loves the Longhorns or the Cowboys, Mavericks, whatever, send them my way. I would love if you would share one of my videos with them. Let's keep growing this good group of people we got, talking sports, talking Rangers, talking Major League Baseball, and everything else. I would be very grateful, would really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see you again on Sunday. Hope y'all had a very Merry Christmas with your families yesterday and on the 24th as well. If you're if you're a Christmas Eve celebrator more so than Christmas Day, I hope you have a good and safe New Year's ahead. If I do not see you until the next show on Thursday, a week from today. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.